So here's this scenario. You went and sold your GTX 1080 when the RTX 3080 was announced. You only got like 200 bucks for it, but you saved up, you're trying to buy a 3080, and you only have like 800 bucks on you, give or take. You're not gonna pay scalpers, and you basically been running on Intel HD graphics for quite some time. Or if you're on Ryzen, you've not been able to run at all, or you've been running on that GT 710 just for video output. So what do? Well, you go on Craigslist and you try to see what everybody's selling. You notice you can buy a 1050 Ti for $175 and they're nuts. You're seeing an influx of RX 5800s for $400 plus, or 5700s, which I did actually sell mine for about that site everybody wanted to buy from me. But then you see somebody has this RX 290. It's a 4 gig, so not bad, for $60. And they put in their post that eBay listings them for 110 plus, and the description says, hey, look, it works. I just need to get some money before Christmas. I know it can sell for more, but I need a quick sale. So you message them and you ask him, hey, can I see a video of it installed and working? He said, sure. So he puts it together and sends it to me, and I said, I have $60, where can I meet you? We meet up, and nice guy, really appreciate him. He knows he can get more for it, and I told him, you know, this is gonna be hopefully allocated to a friend's build. But lo and behold, I got an R9-290. I think this is a 4 gig, yeah, it's 4 gig DDR5 for 60 bucks. It's a little dirty, probably needs to be repasted, but let's just see how good of a job this can do on modern AAA titles at a little bit of insane resolutions. And we'll probably look at maybe dialing some things back to see if this is a good card to hold you over until you can finally get yourself an RTX 3080 or RX 6800 XT. So here we go. Take a really quick look at the card here. So we have nice big back plate. It does take a 6 and an 8 pin, or 6+6+2. Oh man, this thing is heavy. It has one giant heat pipe, and let's see if we can measure that real quick. So starting from the 2 centimeter mark. Oh wait, there we go. That is, oh wow, that is almost, that's a 10 millimeter heat pipe right there. Look at that. So here, I'll show you guys again. So we'll start from the 2 centimeter over to the 3. That is a full centimeter wide. So that means that's 10 centimeters. Jesus. Now we do have to take this apart just to clean up a little bit. It looks like there's only a couple screws, so that should be pretty easy for that. First, we'll remove these screws. I'm taking them on word that it works, so I would always test that first. Come on. Oh, this is loose, it's magnetism. The warranty void if removed. Well, last time I checked, this card's been out of warranty for a few years, so that's fine. But he uses an RX 480, which is basically the same performance, just a lot less power draw. He is a Insignia, like 450 watt power supply, so that's 80 plus watt. He knows he needs to get something better, but stuff's insane with cost right now, so. Oh, perfect. So I do feel that there is, yep, there's a fan header here that we're going to quickly disconnect. Actually, you know what? I don't need to disconnect that. Let me actually see how hard it would be to do so. Seems to be. There we go. Oof. That was harder than I expected. Thermal paste actually isn't too bad. We're still going to want to replace it, but there definitely is a fair bit of dust on the cooler. So what we're going to do here is there looks to be 4 screws. I thought the screwdriver's could be a little bit too big, but it looks like it's not. As I'm breaking stuff already. If this comes apart with 8 screws, that'd be fantastic. So there should be 2 of these on each side. And the good news is well, I didn't ask if it was a smoked in house. I don't think it is, just based off of what I'm not seeing there'd be a fair bit of really dark brown, and there seems to be mostly dust, but it'll most likely be going to a house where people smoke, so that's understandable. There we go. Now, I'm probably going to try to clean around the fans, but this fan may have to come out. And that's actually, that's going to be a little bit difficult. The screw is down in there, so that'll be hard to get to. So I'm going to try to clean my way around this the best I can. But honestly, if we just actually put air through the back here, it honestly will most likely come out, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Okay, let's see how good of a job I did, and I think I did a pretty good job, all things considered. There's a little bit more I'll try to get out here, right? But most of the big pieces are out. I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol with a paper towel to get a lot of this stuff out. See, I missed a little bit right there, but better that than try to get these fans out, to be honest. Worst case scenario, I could probably get a screwdriver down in here and do it. I might still do that later if need be, but she's definitely looking quite a bit better. So let's go ahead and at least clean up the thermal paste. We're going to put a new application on here because this is, as you see, a bit on the hard side. So we definitely need to, oof, that's rough. That's a really hard paste. So let's fold this over and try a new side here. See here, this paste has been on for a while. There we go. And then we're going to do the same thing over here as well. Just be a little bit more gentle since we're using a paper towel. And then what I'll do is I'm going to get a dedicated piece here and try to get it mostly on this corner. Some of the stuff can remain, so that's why I'm not going to like be too into getting this off. I'm just going to try to get off as much as I can. It's really about getting the die as clean as possible. There we go, perfect. So, more thermal paste just randomly falling off. Jesus. Guess it's a couple pieces there. Oh, that's the dust I kicked up here. I think I'm gonna just get some thermal paste and some isopropyl alcohol for the stickiness, because it seems to stick to dust pretty well. So what I'll do here is I'm gonna just try to hit some of the harder spots that seem to have dust clinging to them. And then I'm going to take a swipe under each fan blade if possible. Let me move this out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. So it's better to do this with a Q-tip. I just don't happen to have one right now. Just trying to get as much dust off as I can. Okay, now this is in much better shape than what it was. Okay, how does this want to go back together? I think, yes. I think it goes just like this. Let's get it over top of the metal brackets on the outside. There we go. It just needs to slide down just a little bit. Oh, I slid it down too far. I gotta line up the holes. There we go, perfect. Now we're gonna cross these. Oh wait, this one, there we go. We'll get these all the way down. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do the other side on the other side. If that makes sense to anybody. we go. And last one's done. So now we have this guy. Just to note, I didn't realize that one of these guys was still stuck to the board, hence why I was missing one of these earlier. Oops. Okay, so let's slide this over and get this connected. That is for power for the fans. So that's done. We'll go ahead and get some thermal paste on the actual GPU portion. So we'll want to get a decent amount here. That should be good. Tape that off there. And we'll flip her over. Look at the, get it lined up the best we can. And this next part is extremely important. That is, we have to make sure that we have even pressure. So we're going to want to definitely do this in a star pattern. I shouldn't have grabbed this 1 second, but oh well. Okay. There we go. Now get this one down all the way. Don't strip them, but you do want to make sure that they are tight. All right, let's get her installed and see how well she does. It is now time for the meat and potatoes of this video, and that is how well this R9-290 will perform and will it get you by until you can snag one of those coveted 3080s or 6800s. Standard test bench 5800X, precision boost overdrive, 32 gigs of RAM, Extreme 4 motherboard, liquid cooled, 750 watt power supply. You guys are used to that. Let's take a really quick look at testing parameters. Standard testing methodology, except the R9-290 and a couple caveats. Only ran one display because it only has one HDMI and one display port out, and just wasn't dealing with that. This is a one-off test, so it's fine. But all the other cards were tested with two. The resolution tested were 3440 by 1440 and 2560 by 1080. Now, whenever I say 1440 and 1080, hopefully I say ultra wide. If not, just assume I mean ultra wide. I am running the same programs though, so those are the programs that I'm running. GPU boost is enabled for NVIDIA. I did not change the sliders on the 290 just due to power draw. Rage mode has not been tested yet. And also for 3D Mark Time Spy, I just averaged graphics tests 1 and 2 to make life easier. And I'm currently running on the latest driver. And here we go. Not the worst start in the world. Superposition high settings, 21 FPS at 1440 ultra wide. 43 FPS at 1080p ultra wide, so that might be able to get you by. Time Spy is not really, it's actually worse off. 19 FPS at 1440 ultra wide versus 27 FPS 1080 ultra wide. But F1 2018, 52 FPS ultra settings, 1080 ultra wide. 34, I know it's a little low for a racing game, but that is 1440 ultra wide at ultra. The Division 2, it's okay. 41 FPS at 1080 ultra wide on high settings is decent. Depending on how close you are, if the monitor, because I have a 34 inches, is further away, that's probably fine. That 30 FPS in the shooter's not going to be a great experience, but we are also looking at high settings here. Watchdog Legions, we're kind of back where we started with the synthetics, not great. 33 FPS at 1080 ultra wide is not going to be a great experience. 21 FPS at 1440 ultra wide is going to be an even worse experience. It's just getting worse and worse. 27 FPS at 1080 ultra is barely playable, and some people would say it's not playable. 12 FPS at 1440 ultra wide is horrible. So that's it. You sold your graphics card. You can't get yourself a 3080. You can't get yourself a 6800 XT. You know, you want to play games, but even the R9-290 just isn't good enough. But is that really true? If you just turn the graphics down in some of these games, I beat a fair bit. can you actually game on a 5-year-old card that you can probably buy for less than $100? Well, it kind of depends. So this is what we did. We're going to look at 1080 ultra wide at a slightly higher detail level than 1440. So for F1 2018, 1080 ultra wide was on high and 1440 ultra wide was on medium, and 76 and 64 FPS respectively. And a lot of games like Forza Horizon 4 are probably going to follow suit with similar performance metrics there. The Division 2 also playable. Medium settings 1080 was 55. If you really want that 3440 ultra wide, you're going to have to go to low to get that middle, high 30s, low 40s average. Watchdogs, Legion, and Assassin's Creed Valhalla, the 1440 ultra wide, it didn't matter to the settings. It was just too much of a bottleneck. And in fact, if you actually turn the settings up a little bit, it didn't really make much of a difference. Just not enough VRAM to render that kind of resolution. But 1080 ultra wide, on medium settings, you're at 41 and 44 FPS. So again, you're not going to be at native resolution. So it really depends on how close you are. But that's going to be enough to get you by. However, while this isn't a really big concern for most of you, there are two things we need to talk about before we make our final conclusion. What is absolutely insane is how much more powerful these graphics cards have gotten. When we look at like the R9-290, okay, which was the true successor to like the HD 7970, and then obviously there was the R9-390, and then the if you remember the Fury cards, the R9 Fury and all that stuff. But it's not, even by today's standards, a big powerhouse. It's not super fast. That's kind of where it kind of fell short. It had GDDR5 memory, had a 512-bit interface, a really wide memory interface. 4 gigs of GDDR5 is enough in most scenarios, but that 1000 megahertz core clock is really going to limit it. But that being said, if we're talking in a GPU shortage under $100, or in my case $60, I think it just has just enough to get exactly what you need, and that is to be able to play your games at some level of enjoyment, and a decent experience at some level, just long enough for you to open that 3080 or 6800 that hopefully your significant other or family or friends or whatever have you bought you for Christmas. But hopefully you have a power supply ready for that 3080. Well, you're going to see why. So there's a bit to cover here. First things first, the power output. 241 watts, that's a lot. So if you already have your power supply ready for your 3080, you're going to be fine. But if you don't, and that's part of the upgrade package you're looking for, that might be a slight problem. Another thing to note is noise. So on an MSI Afterburner standard fan curve at 60% fan, 60% fan speed, these fans are running at 2,800 RPM. That is a little bit more, I think, than the maximum of my Tai Chi fans. So I had to tweak the fan curve way down. And honestly, temps weren't an issue. Now, temps on the reference model of this car and the Gigabyte WindForce weren't great. From experience, I had a WindForce. I ended up returning because it was overheating. I only had 76 degrees on the core. The GDDR6 memories and the VRM were fine. I didn't log that here, but they were like in the 60s and lower 70s. But that fan, I mean, just the regular fan curve was super loud. I mean, I'm talking probably north of 50 decibels. If I had to throw a dart at it, it was pretty bad. So a lot of power output, a lot of noise. So you got to have the power supply ready, and you better have MSI Afterburner to tweak the fans, or else that really is going to make this not a great experience. So you want me to give it to you straight. I just made you spend 20 minutes watching me take apart a card, clean it, talk about some benchmarks, and you may not have a straight answer. And to be honest, there isn't one. These cards aren't readily in circulation that often. You'll only find these cards used with the exception of about a year ago. I bought 2 of these brand new. They were destined for a mining farm and they were just not opened. So I don't want this to fall and break. So you're gonna buy these used. A lot of these models ran hot. They consumed a lot of power. They could consume nearly 300 watts of power. A lot of them ran really loud. So here's my take. I would say under $90 is a good buy for a 290 or a 390, 290X, 390X. If you're under that $100 mark, and you just need a card, you're probably not going to find anything better. But because of the age and everything, these probably won't go for much more than 100 in most cases. I could be wrong, but I think around 100 or less, you might be able to snag these for. So if you have the power supply already for your 3080 or 6800, you're good. If you already have the case configuration, you're good. If you're familiar with like MSI Afterburner, where you can just tweak a custom fan curve, you're most likely good. So in those cases, I would buy this card. This card's going to end up actually in a build coming up. I built my friend's brother-in-law computer. We used kind of a mix match of what I had in the office and what they had left over for extreme budget. And good old FedEx, love them to death, they lost the package. So we are working on a claim right now, and luckily for my customer, she got the computer at a really good deal, so my cost is much higher, so we didn't insure it for replacement costs. So we're going to be probably not putting this in there. We're going to have to ship it separate, but hopefully we can put together something really sick for like $400 and some odd. So I am really excited about that. So stay tuned. I also have a review of the Extreme 4 coming. I probably have another review on the 6800, probably part 3 coming. I don't know what else I have come down the line. I have like a bunch of videos I still like need to work on editing, like a couple liquid cooler videos and some fan videos. So stay tuned to that. But if you do like this video, hit that like button. If you disliked, hit the dislike button. Leave a comment and get subscribed. Maybe I'll put some links. I don't know. I'll put some stuff for you guys to maybe search for on Amazon. To be honest, most of them probably won't be in stock, full disclosure. But if you at least follow that link and buy something, I do get a small commission. And honestly, you know, even if it's like a couple percentages on like a $30 purchase, that helps because I do get a lot of people, dozens of people every month that do it, and that does help fund projects and stuff like that. So if, trust me, it really doesn't go into my pocket. It stays in the business to just buy more stuff to review and more fun stuff. So, but that's really kind of what it's all about. So that's it. As always, this is Steve from Big Head Tech, and I will see you all later on down the road. And also, this should be going up Christmas Eve, so have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays.